What do you understand by weather modification? Most of the alteration that is going on with nature has a way of bouncing back to us. Do you also know that the globalists can lay hands on this weather as a weapon to depopulate the earth? Things like that can be going on, and yet we might not know about it. How many of you could be sitting, you can see the cloud behind me, and you can see like a plane going on, and then like it's releasing some kind of cloudy, like it's released some clouds, Yeah, that is cloud seeding. Now we need to ask questions. We need to raise alarm. We need to find out what's going on, because changing and altering course of nature will be a disaster to humanity. So we must be able to ask questions. We must be able to come out and dig deeper. What is this about? What is this? We cannot just be okay with everything that is going on around us because we grew up to knowing these things or we've been taught in school, and we can't go deeper and ask questions and go out and carry out research on it so that we can be able to know what exactly are these things. Why are they here? What are they here for? And what can we be able to do to change all these things? So I'll be playing some of these videos for you, and then help you to understand what exactly is going on.
Man is on a quest to play God, to control the weather and use it as a weapon. Lightning, torrential rains, hurricanes, targeted at the enemy.
The ultimate war is if you never have to fire a round and nobody ever knew you launched the fight.
Is it possible there have already been attacks using weather weapons?
Some people believe that Katrina was weather warfare at its most potent.
But how do we get from understanding extreme weather to making it do our bidding?
Earthquake, tidal wave, those become the future of warfare.
And what began as a scientific program to study the ionosphere has now taken a dangerous turn. The technology we use, the high-frequency transmitters designed to interact with charged particles in the upper atmosphere, was originally meant to help us understand natural phenomena like solar storms and improve communications. But recently, I've seen signs that my employers are taking this in a more dangerous direction, using HAARP for purposes that raise serious concerns. We've always known that by heating specific areas of the ionosphere, we could influence radio wave propagation and cause localized changes. What terrifies me is that they've modified the technology, and it's no longer just about research. The data we're collecting is being used to precisely target areas within the U.S., and it's clear the intention is to cause harm, not study natural events. Since the handover to the University of Alaska, it's been easier for them to obscure their true intentions. But the truth is, HAARP still has the power to manipulate the ionosphere in ways the public doesn't understand. I'm seeing experiments that go far beyond harmless scientific study. The extreme weather patterns, sudden atmospheric disturbances, they're not coincidences. They're calculated. The ionospheric research instrument isn't just for stirring up small patches of the ionosphere. It has the potential for destruction on a scale the world hasn't seen since the age of atomic weapons. HAARP is now being weaponized, causing the very chaos it was meant to help prevent. My conscience won't let me stay silent any longer. This technology, in the wrong hands, is capable of devastating entire populations, and I fear that's exactly what's happening.
The High-Frequency Active Auroral Research Program. This is located up in Alaska. It's currently funded by the Air Force Research Lab. It was formerly funded by the Office of Naval Research. One of the prime customers is DARPA, which is currently running experiments at the facilities. To start with you, Dr. Prabhakar, I understand that a lot of folks here on the committee probably don't understand what HAARP does. I think most Alaskans don't really know what HAARP does or why the agency is involved in it. So a very brief explanation.
One of our programs has been using the HARP facility for the research that it's pursuing. And my understanding is that we did get value out of that interaction.
Dr. Walker, your agency is currently running the facility.
The Air Force has gotten great value out of HARP in the past. We took over from the Navy and managed it and actually did a number of experiment campaigns up there. Moving on to other ways of managing the ionosphere, which the HARP was really designed to do, was to inject energy into the ionosphere to be able to actually control it. With DARPA completing their project, that's our last government customer that we have in the site.
It basically makes the ionosphere a laboratory, and we can do experiments that no one else can do. It's a laboratory without walls.
1983, I did radiotomography with 30 watts, looking for oil in the ground. I found 26 oil wells over a 9-state area, and 100% of the time was accurate with just 30 watts of power beaming straight into solid rock. HARP uses 1 billion watts beamed straight into the ionosphere for experiments. Picture these strings on the piano as layers of the earth. Each one has its own frequency. What we used to do is beam radio waves into the ground, and it would vibrate any strings that were present in the ground. We might get a sound back like, and we'd say, that's natural gas. We might get a sound back like, and we say that's crude oil. We were able to identify each frequency. We accomplished this with just 30 watts of radio power. If you do this with 1 billion watts, the vibrations are so violent that the entire piano would shake. In fact, the whole house would shake. In fact, the vibrations could be so severe underground that could even cause an earthquake.
You're giving me this attention and this information attention because it needs to get out to the world. I will start, since we have to be brief. I have already given all pertinent information and supporting documentation to the Senate Intelligence Committee and ARROW. They informed me that all of my information will be recorded for public record and shared with Congress. It is that important. In 2010, I was selected to go down to the South Pole Station in Antarctica for an entire year by Raytheon Polar Services as an employee of a third-party contractor for the National Science Foundation. I function in a dual-role capacity as a tradesman and a firefighter. My responsibilities required me to be more informed than most of my crew and offered me complete access to the facilities. What I learned from this unique experience needs to be shared with the entire world. The technology at the South Pole Station certainly can do what it is presented as its primary purposes, and unfortunately, much more. The IceCube neutrino detector is presented as a passive listening device for the purposes of the science as presented. But I'm going to skip right through the chase, folks. I have provided documentation that proves that the 5,160, what they call DOMs, that are embedded in the ice can actually transmit at 2,047 volts each. That gives us a long list of things to consider. It is effectively a multifaceted directed energy weapons platform that I will list rapidly a few things that it can do. Vehicle detection. We're learning that these off-world craft, on-world craft, ours or other nations, are also emitting neutrinos. So this makes the South Pole Station effectively an air traffic control station for this new level of equipment that nobody's discussing. In addition to the ability to detect neutrinos and the exotic vehicles, I have provided documentation that shows that this is also a system for faster than light communications. In the past, Gary McKinnon has hacked NASA, found the off-world fleet, the list of captains, and it's apparent that if we have faster than light vehicles moving throughout this system, we're going to need faster than light communications. This is that facility. Unfortunately, I have other bad news. The season that I was there, 2010 to 2011, we converted from construction to operations and maintenance in both the elevated station and the detector array. Unfortunately, when they first fired it up, that was when we had the earthquakes in Christchurch, New Zealand. There was 2 incidental shots before they were able to target it correctly. This is an earthquake generating device as well. This is the weapons of war that we have to deal with now and what Raytheon's hiding. There's an ELF system at the South Pole Station that when I arrived, I was told it was off, dismantled, and completely defunct. In my work, I will rapidly just tell you, I had to figure out the circuitry for certain other repairs, and I found that this system is in fact completely energized, up and running, and being utilized with the other systems for nefarious purposes as well. The Atmospheric Research Observatory is in what we call the clean air sector. I witnessed myself a very powerful green laser shooting out of the top of this facility into the cosmos. This, I believe, is a secondary form of long-range communications and or a defense system. I am not saying that we need to be scared of anything that's out there, but please understand the military-industrial complex is happy to invest all of your money in alleviating their fears. A question of power comes into play for all of these facilities that are present. I assure you, I knew what was going on, I knew the load demands of the facility, and all of these new items exceed the demand for the systems that I was presented. I am doing due diligence and research. I believe there is either a secondary power supply there that is either nuclear, that was there prior to the start of the Antarctic Treaty, which prohibits such things, and or that there is some sort of exotic power supply system there that just is not in the verbiage of the treaty, so it negates the responsibility to the parties involved.